30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's a beautiful Thursday. We've had a dadgum monsoon over the last 6 hours. Good Lord, has it poured. By the way, it is election day in our city. So, Kelly, take a good look. That is proof that I voted today. I don't want to get political, but every last one of you who are watching this show live who live in Davidson County, you need to vote because somebody fought for your freedom to have that privilege. Okay, there's the soapbox. Let's get on with it. Terry McCormick, sitting back, looks like out at Titans Central. His daily Titans update is brought to you by Lori Leland. She wants to be your mortgage lady. Serving Tennessee and Alabama, here's her phone number, 615-969-4350. Terrence, how are you?
I'm doing well, George. How are you?
I'm doing good. The weather sucks. What's that done to the Titans?
Well, they started out today trying to practice in the rain, and then there was a little bit of a lightning flash, and off to the bull they scampered. And so they finished up there inside, and it looked like a big day for the Titans defense today, George. There were balls batted away and raked out receivers' hands on passes in just about every drill that there was. And they punctuated it by having a strong showing to finish in the 2-minute drill. The first team offense, their last 4 plays resulted in a sack and 3 incompletions down near the end zone. The second team's going resulted in an interception, and the third team, and by my count, I think they may have gotten an extra down, or there may have been some sort of defensive penalty or something, but they finally got into the end zone on the final play. But it was the defense day all the way around, George.
So, Terry, when you're trying to evaluate what does that mean, did it mean that the Titans defense was really good or the offense sucked?
I think that's the age-old question. I go back to Larry Woody back when he covered Vanderbilt, and he said, I couldn't tell if the defense was great or the offense was terrible. So I guess, you'd have to be inside those meetings like Kelly once was to kind of realize the difference, to know, okay, we did this right, but the guy just made a good play, or if this was just plain terrible, this is unacceptable. So I think I tend to lean toward this defense being pretty decent, because I think that front seven with Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry, Arden Key, some of those guys, I think they have a potential to be pretty good. And then when you talk about an offensive line, and granted, some of this was 7-on-7 and even 1-on-1 where there is no offensive line, but I tend to think that this offense is more of a work in progress than the defense. So I'm going to give the advantage to the defense to say they were good, but the offense did have some moments where they didn't look so good, including there was one wide open dropped pass in the end zone. You're just shaking your head going, that's not going to cut it.
Terry, so many people are really excited about DeAndre Hopkins. Tell us what you think early. And I realize this may not tell the story a week and a half, whatever it is, into practice. What are you seeing out of him?
Looks pretty good. I see that he and Ryan Tannehill are making a concerted effort to get on the same page. I think he's trying to communicate with Tannehill to kind of get that nonverbal thing where I know what you're going to do before you do it. That's sort of the same sort of chemistry that he had with AJ Brown. Now that chemistry, we haven't seen that chemistry with really any other receiver that Tannehill's had since he's been here, but he's working on that with DeAndre Hopkins, and he's also developing it looks like with Treylon Burks. And I asked Tannehill about that today, and he said that he and Treylon are have that Treylon has worked hard, and the two of them are getting on the same page. He's now comfortable at more than one of the receiver positions, so they may be able to move him around the formation and things like that a little bit. So I think not only is DeAndre Hopkins trying to get on the same page with Tannehill and they're trying to make that work, I think his trust factor with Treylon Burks is improving as well. So if he's got two guys he can trust, like he did when he had A.J. Brown and Corey Davis there that in 2020, it certainly should benefit the Titans in the pass game overall, but it just may take a while to develop.
Terry, real quickly, what does their weekend schedule look like, and is any of that open to the public?
Well, you kind of thrown me a curveball here, George. I don't honestly
No,
have not looked at that beyond tomorrow, to be honest with you. But let me check real quick. Media schedule. Friday, August 4th. Practice. It doesn't say anything about fan participation. The schedule that I have does not go past tomorrow. So I'm sure there'll be some more forthcoming.
I got a question as well.
I do remember that Sunday is an off day. So Saturday there could be something that might be open.
Sunday is a day of rest, but tomorrow practice. Go ahead, Billy.
I was just going to say I got a question about whether or not the practices are going to be open to the public as well. So the people are clamoring.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay. Terry, you've done good work. As always, retweet.
Thanks, guys. See
you tomorrow. Terry McCormick's Daily Titans Update, brought to you by Lori Leland. She wants to be your mortgage lady. Hey, Billy, tomorrow, a big session of Ask the Director.
Uh-oh.
Okay. How do people, because I want questions from the public, from the people. We want to reach out to the people. How do they get their questions in that they're dying to ask me?
Yeah, the world is spinning on its axis, waiting for these questions. But
don't be using my lines.
Yeah, we know Kelly hates that.
Come up with your own.
But, George, you can go to YouTube if you're watching it there. There's a comment section on the right side. At the bottom, you can type in your question. Also on Twitter, there's another comment section there. There's also a comment section on Facebook. So wherever you're watching the show, you can fire your questions in there, and we will get them over to you.
Before we say hello to Kelly Holcomb, in about 10 minutes, former Titans coach Jeff Fisher will join us, and that guarantees the first hour is going to kick you-know-what. It's going to be fun. Hello, Kelly. How are you?
Good, George. How you doing?
Well, I'm very good. As you know, I gave you the news earlier. Birdied a hole at Harpeth Hills. Didn't cheat. I'll admit when I cheat, which is often. I did not cheat on hole number 11.
So you hit your driver 170 yards on a par 3.
I did.
Don't tell anybody else that.
No.
You shouldn't have told Kelly that.
Oh, I don't care. You think I give a damn what he thinks?
Yes.
I mean, good gracious, dude. Now I mean, I give you credit. You have been walking. You have been doing a little exercise, but now you got to get in the gym, man. You got to do some curls, some bench press. You got to do, maybe some body weight squats or something like that to get your glutes, firing at some point, But 170, I still don't care if you're in your 60s, George. You got to go further than 170 with a driver.
When did Coach Donnelly issue you that warm-up thing you're wearing?
He didn't issue that to me, but I just left lunch with those fellas. I told you yesterday I was going to eat. Yeah, that's a crap show in itself.
I'm going to give you a line to use. It got me in trouble once. If BS were a football field, you were sitting on the 50-yard line.
That's correct. And I was in a bunch of BS about 30 to
I
45
believe it.
minutes ago. There's no question. And that Coach Donnelly used to always talk about those guys not being able to walk. And now he's had back surgery. He had back surgery about 2 years ago, and he can't walk. So I find that quite
Ironic.
amusing. Yeah, it's very ironic and quite amusing that he can't walk now either. So
It's always good that you uplift people, especially as they get a little older.
well, I mean, you shouldn't make fun of folks like Coach Donnelly. Coach Donnelly's the biggest about making fun of folks, and if you're going to make fun of folks, it's probably going to happen to you. I mean, the man had some Skechers on, so he's reached that age.
Kelly's
Billy,
on a roll.
Do you have an update in our future?
I do. You talk about a gym shoe operation with those guys, man.
Gosh,
right.
Bad.
There is football tonight.
Yes, there is.
The Hall of Fame game, Jets and Browns in Canton, 7:00 kickoff. Aaron Rodgers will not play.
Right.
It's been over 20 years since either of these two teams played in the Hall of Fame game, so it's rare to see the Jets and the Browns.
Billy, let me give you just a little bit of a warning.
Yep.
Okay. We all get excited. First night of football.
And you did this last year, too.
Within about 15 minutes, you will be sitting there going,
What'd you call them? Bartenders, George?
well, there's some future bartenders who will play in tonight's game. Yes.
You will also
and that's uplifting, George. That's really uplifting for some of those guys. That's great, man. Their hearts pounding because they don't know if they're going to make the next day, and then you're making fun of it. That's that's great. Way to be uplifting.
I'm just saying they are future bartenders at some point.
They could be, but I mean, they want to be future NFL players, but I mean, we all understand that's not reality.
Bartending in mid-August can be lucrative.
We will also see Zach Wilson versus Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I'm excited to see him, DTR.
DTR, baby.
So I would guess Kelly Deshaun Watson plays a series and then or two maybe, and then they put
maybe. I mean, I asked the other day about that. I'm not sure how they do that with these 3 preseason games. I'm sure he's going to get a little work, but it won't be much.
Yeah. And then another thing to this game, it'll be on the first episode of Hard Knocks, so you'll get to see this game in action on Hard Knocks. So that's another little note there. George, according to Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio, a side note, the NFL is considering using the same kickoff rules as the XFL in an attempt to make kickoffs safer. Statistics have shown that kickoffs are where the most injuries are caused. Now, I don't know if you guys have watched the XFL at all, but the kickers line up at the 30-yard line with the other 10 players of the kickoff team lining up at the opponent's 35-yard line. So just 5 yards away from the returning team. So, I mean, there's been mixed opinions of this. I don't know, Kelly, if that would make a whole lot of a difference. But
I told you when I saw that was going to happen, guys. I didn't know that they would adopt it from the XFL, but like if you're trying to cut down on injuries like that, that's how you do it. To keep that facet of the game in, which is huge. Special teams is huge, and when you got kick returns, that's going to cut down on those collisions. There's no question about that. I mean, it's still a big part of the game, but if they're trying to do something like that, I told y'all I could see that coming.
You know, in 4th grade, I was in gray Y football, deep to receive. The ball is coming at me, and I realize there are 11 people that want to beat me up. And so I pitched the ball to a friend of mine who got the crap kicked out of him. I felt pretty good about it. And that's when I said, you're likely to be a broadcaster.
And then you didn't even help him up, which is great of you, George. No, there's no question. You didn't help him up. You just sat there and laughed at him, I'm sure.
I told this story to a civic club where my friend was attending. I was the speaker, and I said, if you've ever wondered why I ever got in this business, here was the moment that changed it all.
I love how you say you felt good about it. That's the best line.
Look, I didn't want to get hurt. Okay, I was a wuss.
We know.
Yeah. and let me say this, I was quicker than you were.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've seen you try to move.
You talking to me?
Oh, yeah.
No. Don't go there, George. Do not go there. Hey, in that pocket, I was a piece of work, dude. I was really good. Now, when I got out there having to sprint, I wasn't doing that. And you talk about that. Coach Donnelly and them decided the great idea of when I was at middle to put me deep because I had good hands to put me deep on the onside kick. And then one night that crap got kicked to me.
Oh,
I'm
Lord.
like, and that thing was like knuckling at me, and I'm like, why am I out here? Why it's coming at me? I'm like, why am I here?
They didn't really value you the way they should have. I mean,
don't know
that's
about that. I don't think they cared.
I don't think they cared either.
I don't think they cared.
I think a lot of it was this little, and you can fill in the blank, deserves this.
And maybe that'll shut his mouth.
Wow. Move
Okay.
on, Kelly.
Move.
I mean, Terry, what's your name? Oh, Billy.
Good
William.
gracious, dude. What are we doing? This dude's having a stroke, Billy. I mean, have you got precautions there for him, dude? Have you got
I am not.
Oh, Kelly is killing me. George, last night the Cubs
Whatever.
had 16
And
hits.
I had the Reds.
Yeah, you had the Reds in 5 home runs and a big 16-6 win over Cincinnati. They scored 36 runs in their past 2 games, the franchise's most ever in that span since 1897. The Cubs are rolling.
I didn't get to see either game. Was the wind blowing out at Wrigley?
It must have been. I actually had a buddy up there at the game in the outfield, and he was like, every other pitch was a home run into the seats.
Crazy.
But you know who plays the Cubs tomorrow?
Brew Crew?
George. Your Atlanta Braves are in Chicago tomorrow.
Okay, well.
So you must not be too worried about it.
I'm not. We'll check back with you in October.
But I'll say this. The Cubs are hot right now.
They are hot.
Braves.
And I hope either the Reds or the Cubs in that division, it would be cool for baseball to see that happen.
Or maybe both. One of them gets the wild card.
Yeah. Are you done?
I'm done.
Wow. Pretty entertaining.
I mean, that wasn't very long. I mean, what are we paying this guy for, George?
Because we're just in the midst of so many sports news items.
I mean, well, hey, hey, that's what you get paid for. I mean, dig, grind, figure it out, grow up.
We're also coming on a break.
Yes, we are.
Oh.
And after the break, Kelly will be joined by former Titans coach Jeff Fisher. This should feel right at home for him. When they got to town, and they were out in Bellevue, it was within a stone's throw of where we are right now. We will talk with him about that and other important football issues next.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Scholar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. As a lot of you know, our show is now more than a year old, and that's a great testimony to some of the viewership that we have had from you all. So a big thank you right there. If you're new to all of this and you're wondering, how do we see the show? Here's some of the ways. Of course, you can watch it live 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. And the 3 biggest ways are Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Now, if you're working or can't watch the show live, you know what? All this stuff is archived in podcast form through 2 different ways. Apple, Spotify, that's the way you do it. You can go Apple Podcast or Spotify, and you're probably sitting there saying, George, you don't know what any of these mean. Well, I'm learning. I can at least spit it out now. Hope that you will continue to enjoy our show, because as football season revs up, we've got some great things planned. Thanks for being with us.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
So who said I can't be a golfer? Well, you know what? This is X Golf, located just down the road from the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. This is fun. It'll improve your golf game, and you need to stop in and check it out. 8138 Sawyer Brown Road, and who knows, I may get to 200 before it's all over. You know, as we sit here and we welcome all of you back to our new permanent digs at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue, it was 25 years ago that the Oilers moved into town, and their offices, if you want to call it that, more like trailers, were probably a 7-iron away from where we're sitting right now as we do this show. So that leads me to the perfect intro to the only person I think could have made that crazy year and a half work, and that is former Titans coach Jeff Fisher, who joins us by phone. Jeff, give me a Bellevue trailer story to get it started.
Oh, no. I thought we had Jeff.
Uh-oh. Kelly, what are we doing?
I don't know. It's Billy's fault. There's no doubt about that.
This is where Kelly says, "What am I getting paid to do?"
I mean, he still doesn't understand his job obligations. That's for sure.
So is this a garnish wages deal?
Absolutely. It's a C note. I think we need to, every time he does it, I think we need to take a C note from him.
Okay,
try
I
now.
think we've got Jeff ready. Former Titans coach Jeff Fisher on the line. Jeff, I was commenting that where we are at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue, we're a 7-iron away from where you all started when you moved here. Give me a good Bellevue trailer park story of what it was you were dealing with.
Well, we just had Jeff, but we're not getting a response.
Okay, well, this is certainly going well.
It's broadcast excellence.
Broadcast excellence.
Well, he is at a farm with probably no Wi-Fi, so that might be contributing to this.
It could be. I know where he is, and that is a tough area out near Pegram, Tennessee.
Yep, I'm going to get to working on this, George.
Okay.
Thanks, Billy. That's awful good of you.
So, Kelly, it was an absolute mess. So they basically had trailers. They had 2 or 3 of them. And, they're trying to conduct, training camps kind of stuff in a day and time where, it wasn't like it is now where it's 1 practice a day. This was 2 and maybe at times 3 practices. So let's see what happens here. We're going to try. Still not getting it done. Or are we? Let's see what kind of signal I'm getting. No signal at the moment. Anyway, listen, my heart went out to them, a National Football League team, and I think we've got Jeff on. Jeff, I was explaining a minute ago, we're a good 7-iron away from where you all started.
Hold on. Jeff, are you there? Well, he's not connecting to us, George.
Okay. Well, this is going to be a hell of a show. Sometimes in live radio and live, however you want to describe podcast, this kind of thing happens and you just have to deal with it. Kelly, did you ever have 3-a-days?
I have had 3-a-days before. It's not very fun either. I can remember being my first training camp in Indianapolis with Lindy and Fonnie, and that thing went for 5 weeks. I thought it was never going to end. They don't. I think they barely go for 2 weeks now, and they only have one practice a day. I can remember, and the two practices that they have, I think the collective bargaining did the agreement that they had the last time. They can have one in the morning, and then if you have another practice, it's got to be a special teams practice, and I don't think it can be padded. So it's the rules are totally different. But when I first came to the NFL, I thought that was never going to end. And I can remember packing up my clothes and getting all my stuff ready. I could not wait to hit the road to go home to do something else for a couple of hours. But I remember when the Titans came into Tennessee, I can remember watching film of those guys in the Liberty Bowl in Memphis when they first got here. And then when they came to Nashville and Vanderbilt Stadium, I can remember seeing all that.
By the time you got to the third practice in a day, could you really get anything done?
It's hard, George. It really is. I did it. We did it a couple of times when I was here at Middle with Coach Donnelly, and that's just it's. I can remember, your first practice, then you finish and you run to the cafeteria to get something to eat, and you go back to the dorm so you can lay down for about 30 minutes, and then you go right back because we had meetings. And it's just when you have 3 practices a day, it's a tough day. And I didn't have many of those, mostly 2 practices. But nowadays, people don't even do that. But I will say this: with all the OTAs and all the mini camps, for the most part, everything's in. What else are you going to put in? They've already gone through all the things that they're going to go through, and
yeah,
it has a lot to do with trying to get rookies up to speed, trying to get those guys some reps, those guys that you think that you've drafted that might have a chance. Obviously, the veterans are going to, they need that time to get acquainted to stuff like a DeAndre Hopkins coming into the Tennessee Titans facility. He's got to get on board with Ryan Tannehill and with the offensive terminology. So things like that happen. But you do so much in the offseason now. That's training camp was like the old Baltimore Colts when nobody did anything for 6 months and then they had to get back in shape. So it's totally different now.
Kelly, I'm going to stop you. I think we've got Jeff Fisher on the line. Jeff, if you can hear me, I was saying that we're within a 7-iron of your old trailer facility when you all first moved here. Give me a good story about how beautiful that was.
I'm not sure why we're not getting him, George.
Well, we all know what my first question will be. And
yes, we've memorized it.
Kelly, it was so strange. I mean, first of all, it's hard to believe that that's been 25 years ago. I remember believing that the group that I was going to deal with as a media person was likely to be a bunch of jerks. And the truth of it is, I will contend it's the greatest locker room in the history of locker rooms. There were more good guys, people I enjoyed dealing with. We had this conversation Saturday out at training camp because Brad Hopkins and Jason McCourty were both out there, guys that I dealt with a lot. And I told him, I said, you all were the best.
Why did you think they were going to be jerks?
Well, having never really dealt in this city, we'd never really had, major league sports teams before.
Right.
All we had really had up to that point on the professional level was minor league baseball. Okay, I'm told Jeff's with us. Let's give this a shot. Jeff, can you hear me?
I can hear you, George. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Beautiful. Okay, so you know where we are at Fordyce Center. We're just down the road from where.
I've been listening. George, hold on, man. I've been listening to you for the last 20 minutes. So how do you want me to bring to the listeners here? You've been trying to carry this for a while, and you've done a great job. Hard to imagine it was that long ago.
God, no kidding.
Now let me ask you this. We had kind of 2 moves. We had the direct to TSU from Houston, and then we had no place to go after that until we moved into the trailers in Bellevue.
Yeah.
And that was right there before the season started. and which was in Memphis, by the way. But anyway, yeah, I got so many stories, but it's interesting the task associated with moving an entire operation, especially when Bud Adams is paying for it. So going from Houston to Nashville, yeah, it was an amazing experience. I had players, I forget, it might have been Henry Ford, came up to me and said, it's been a while now, but I know it was at least 2. It might have been 3 of his cars never arrived, and he doesn't know where they are, nor does the mover. And so, well, dude, you're going to have to get a ride back and forth to work, and then, but there's so many different things happen. Man, I'll tell you, wow. We had to get, and the trailers were really cool. They're obviously tight quarters, and you couldn't soundproof them. So the loudest coach in the trailer was carrying the trailer, even though you had 4 or 5 coaches talking at the same time. But anyway, we had to call Critter Ritter because there was a litter of skunks underneath the entry stairway into our trailers. So they came out and they relocated the skunks, and we went on with our business.
Jeff, did you ever end a day?
The NFL.
Did you ever end a day saying, I can't do this?
No, I never did. The thing that was really cool about that whole experience, and George, you know me well, is that everybody was hands-on, and there was no job too small for anybody. And that's it was a grassroots movement, and we had to do everything ourselves, and that's okay. And so, the departments at that time grew much closer together. Not that you're compartmentalizing the organization, but man, they were helping each other. We're leaning on people and trusting people to get the end of their stuff done. Keep in mind the department heads had moved before. It wasn't like we had a move supervisor. The message on the piece of the notepad on the wall next to the phone in the weight room in Houston said, call this number, and it was an 800 number, and schedule your move, period. So do that to an organization now.
Oh my God.
And so, it was a challenge, but everybody did something that they weren't used to doing, and oftentimes 3 or 4 things. Just because of the circumstances, that we were in. And, Bud, it was a great thing. Bud made that call. It wasn't an easy call, and it was hurtful for him to have to go through that. And as a result, when you're feeling pain, it's understandable why you don't want to spend a whole lot of money. So we didn't spend a whole lot of money relocating, at least the organization. So, but it was an amazing experience, and it's fun. It's fun to be able to share it with you and your listeners. But next question.
So when you all got here, was it totally 2-a-days, or did you ever do 3-a-days?
Oh no, there might have been. Back then, there were no, we really didn't have any rules per se. Other than a start of camp and end of camp. And I say that, tongue in cheek, there are rules, but not the way they are now. I don't think, I might have had a walkthrough, but I would have never done 3. I was, I always put myself in the player's shoes. From the get-go, from start to finish, every minute of the day that I scheduled, it was about them, and I wouldn't do that unless, it might have been I could have had a 7-on-7 or something like that, but no, boy, I if I did, I changed quick because I was all about taking care of them. But it's hard to take care of them when you have one field, and that field is basically dirt, dusty, provided it doesn't rain like it just did here, and no other place to practice. That's hard. So we had to build a temporary field. TSU was great. Remember, they let us over there. We built that. It's field that is currently still there. But we had to build that field for the O-line, D-line, and just make the most of our practice opportunities. And so that was we were over there for camp. My concern obviously is player safety from the get-go. Fortunately, we came from a town, Houston, that's used to lightning and thunderstorms, because lightning and thunderstorms are the number one biggest concern, as we just saw. You imagine a bunch of kids on the field or professional athletes. So, we had to really zero in on that and try to stay on the front edge of that just for player safety. And I remember when they first came out with the monitors, the lightning monitors, now everybody looks at their phone, all day long because they're lightning apps, but we didn't have those things back then. So, there were just a lot of stuff that we had to do, on our own.
Jeff Kelly Holcomb's the other person who will ask you questions. So I have shared my collusion thought with both of you, and both of you have had the same opinion that I'm pretty much full of bull. So I'll toss it a different way. What are the running backs to do, Jeff, to try to get themselves paid at a better level?
George, great question. I'm hearing I'm kind of looking at it from the outside in now, but I do have a lot of experience with running backs, and good ones. And the one I'm going to speak to probably the most, Eddie. You just don't see the longevity anymore. There were a lot of backs that during our era that were outstanding backs that kind of just ran out of gas. Now, there's always exception to the rule, but they just ran out of gas because they just been hit. And we didn't have the ability to take care of the bodies back then, like we do now. But it's going to be. I would think maybe that comes up, next time the collective bargaining agreement comes up. But you're dealing with some specific related changes as to how, right now, as far as players being paid and things like that, now you're going to all of a sudden treat a different group differently than another one. I think it creates problems, but there's a lot of smart people on both sides and they can figure it out. But I don't think the running backs are going to figure it out right now. So they're going to have to, if they want to play, they got to go to work. Unfortunately, let their representatives and stuff figure it out. Probably, be some interesting discussions, to say the least, over a couple-day period. But it's hard. I see it, and it's hard. It's just when you get to year 4 and 5, and you're up, in that well over 225, 250 carries each year, it's hard on the body. Stuff starts to go. When stuff starts to go, then it becomes harder and harder. And, when stuff starts to go, you lose, I don't want to say a step, you may lose an inch, which is the difference between you getting on the edge or getting in and out of a block, or getting to where you need to get to in a hurry, in a time-related offense. So I just it's a great question. I'd love to hear some more information. You got my mind going now. So I don't know, where's it going, Kelly? What do you think?
Kelly, tell him it's collusion.
Well, it's not collusion. It's a trend, George. I mean, I told you it's become, and I don't have the answer either, Coach. I think you said it perfectly. But when you're taking, there's not many Emmitt Smiths or Walter Paytons out there who can take the punishment for. I mean, they had such an impressive time in the NFL, but nowadays, like if you're getting hit that much, you just can't do it over and over and over. And I don't think clubs are willing to do that because now it's more of a passing game. I know that the Titans are trying to, they use Derrick Henry obviously, and he's the catalyst for their offense. But the running back, and I don't like it. I mean, but it's just not as important now in today's game. But then you look at Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley's kind of everything for that team. So I don't know. It's going to be a topic of discussion. But man, it's for the longevity of it. I just think people are just not willing to pay running backs anymore. Are you still there?
Do you want me to add anything to that?
No.
George?
If you want to, yeah.
Kelly, great job. Yeah, no, great job, Kelly. How many guys are out, roughly? I mean, you got 3 or 4 marquee guys out there that aren't in camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I asked that because I haven't been paying real close attention. So,
okay, Nick.
But if you got 3 or 4 guys out there, they most likely, even though we one fell swoop say they're all in the same category, situations are different. So, they're running backs, but they're, the contracts and all that stuff's different. So, but it's see where it goes. Really would be.
Coach, my question to you is, I just want to know, like, do you miss it? Do you miss being in the NFL?
Oh yeah, of course you do. I'll tell you, what you miss is what's going on right now, camp.
Yeah.
Every day. I mean, and the big thing is just the interaction with people, Cal. I had a smaller staff, but it wasn't as much. I'm probably the second smallest staff for a long time, but still that interaction, the staff stuff and all that stuff, with everybody. And you miss organizations if you've done it right. You just come to work every day. You can't wait to get there. And that's, you park the car and run in the building. And that's kind of the same environment that I created for players every single year. Some of the teams were better than the others, but that's what you miss. And again, you get frustrated. George and I have had this conversation. I kind of look around and go, okay, all right, well, when this train gets down to the end of the street and turns right, this is what's going to happen. And you can kind of predict things now. They're extremely predictable with respect to the direction of the league. So when the season gets started, if you want my picks, give me a call. No, I'm teasing.
Yes, sir.
Now go ahead.
Well, I just want to be a little bit nostalgic. I know you were part of that 85 Bears team, but how much did Buddy Ryan have an effect on your coaching?
Wow. It's so funny, Kel, you brought it up. Buddy of mine sent me a picture today, random picture of Buddy on the sideline in Philadelphia, and I'm standing next to him. Clyde Simmons is right behind him, and Buddy's calling a defensive signal. And I looked at it, and I go, oh, I know what signal that was. And that came up just earlier today. It's cool that you brought it up. Defensively, that's where it started. It started with Buddy. I played in it and then went and, coached it for him for 5 years. I went to the 49ers and learned that system. And then I blended the 2 systems. And then that system came to Houston. I had 2 head coaches go from that system, or two of my coordinators, remember Schwartzy and Greg Williams. So that was our defensive system. Do you miss it? Yeah, I miss it. Do I give Buddy a lot of credit? Absolutely. He was the one that he got into coaching. It's a great story. Happy to share it with you guys sometime, but he got me into coaching. But I'll also say this about my experience with Buddy. I love the man, and the Twins know how I feel about them, as does Jim. But I learned an awful lot how to not do things from Buddy, as much as I did how to do things.
Yeah.
And I think in this day and age, I think that's important to learn from, well, I would do that, or, oh gosh, whatever it is, you just sit there and learn everything you possibly can. Did I take some stuff from the 49er organization and Bill Walsh and George Seaver? Hell yes. So, that's kind of the thing, but I appreciate that. 85 Bears. Yep. Was all Buddy and Mike. I give Mike credit because I have respect for that coaching job. So
you want to hear one, Kelly?
Yeah, give me something.
So this would have been 2006 training camp. The Sounds had just done a plaster bobblehead night.
Oh gosh.
And so he comes walking by our tent because we were broadcasting out there every day, and he gave me a bunch of crap about the bobblehead. Why have you got a bobblehead? Why would anybody want it? Well, I was asking the same questions he was. I mean, my own family didn't want it. So I decided that I was going to get even a little bit. And that day I had Jonathan Hutton tape the bobblehead to his microphone. And so around 5 o'clock, all the media would gather around him. We're on the air in a tent, but all the media are gathered around him. And Jonathan has got this bobblehead taped to the microphone so that Jeff, when he sticks that microphone in Jeff's face, what Jeff is really talking into is that bobblehead. And he never flinched, and it pissed me off royally because I really wanted him to lose it.
He was focused.
He was very focused, but he was not about to give me the satisfaction of laughing through that. Jeff, that really scarred me.
I'm sorry, George. There's probably a few moments there where you scarred me as well. I have to refer back and share them with you. No, I do. I remember. I didn't know it was Hutton. Yeah,
it was Hutton. Hutton.
We had a good time. We had a great time, man. It was some great years here. Everybody had fun, and not that they're not now. I mean, I'm fired up for the start. Sounds like the guys, ran and Mike got things rocking. They know what, obviously everybody right now this time should be concerned with the offensive line.
Yeah.
But if you feel like you got a good one, man, then don't give up, keep trying to get better. But then you can, and I just throw that out there. That was always my baby was, and I wasn't very vocal about it, but it was, boy, how are we going to be up front, and where's our depth, and, we got to keep them healthy and get through camp. But sounds like they've addressed that issue. They got some things that get worked out. I just, it's one of those deals where you just don't have enough time sometimes to make those decisions.
Jeff, last thing for you before we let you go. What's fair for a fan to expect as far as what is left in DeAndre Hopkins' tank?
Ooh, boy. He's a unique, rare athlete that's really, he plays effortless. I say he's really smooth, and he's always in control. I think he's going to have a huge impact. He's still young by that standards. I just, like anything else, man, you got to watch him early. But I think he's gonna be an impact player. I think the league's gonna be little concerned now because, the big back, you just zero in on the big back, and, take your lumps in the play action game and try to get off field third down against the Titans offense because of injuries and what have you. But now you got a guy that can make some plays and make some people miss. And he's really good in that big rectangle there inside the 1 yard line, man. He's really good. So I think everybody should be excited.
Jeff, appreciate your taking the time. It is hard to believe it's been 25 years ago. I was young and thin. What has happened? Holy cow. Thank you.
Let's do this again. Thank you.
I'd love to do it again. Thank you for coming on with us.
You betcha.
That's former Titans coach Jeff Fisher. I know we got to go to a break. I'm sorry we weren't able at the very beginning to work it out, but it was good to talk to him. Kelly, it drove me crazy. I'm watching this big scrum, and I want to see some reaction. He did such a good job of not giving me that satisfaction.
Did he say anything to you afterwards?
Oh, yeah. When he came by later, I started it. I jumped in. I said, don't act like you didn't see it. I said, I know damn good and well you saw that thing.
That's about as bad as your golf swing. I can't believe you had a bobblehead.
Well, listen, you'd love to have one.
Oh, terrible.
We need to go to a break. Billy, guess what comes up this weekend?
The Music City Grand Prix.
Yes, and I'll tell you this, the amount of work that it takes to get that whole campus area ready is staggering. Man, I was by there a couple of days ago. This is going to be fun. I've never been to one before. I've made that clear in all of the commercials. And so come Monday, I'll have some things to report because there are also a bunch of you out there, if you're honest, who have never been before. And you may not feel the excitement, but I'll tell you this, those who finally have gone tell me it's one of the coolest things going. So it's not too late to get your tickets. MusicCityGP.com. You can start as low as general admission and work all the way up into some really high-level amenities. It's up to you. But make the decision, attend this weekend, and I'll tell you, even though I've never been to one, I'm pretty sure it's going to get my attention. MusicCityGP.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at BairdDifference.com.
Okay, Billy, would it be time for stat of the day?
Yes, it is.
That's
George.
good.
We're a little behind on one
That's
break
okay.
behind, but we'll catch back up.
Yeah.
It is time for stat of the day, and it is brought to you by John English, Antique Sports and Cards, leading us right into Danny Evans. Although we do have a football question today, but John English, Antique Sports and Cards, 204 East Depot Street.
I see Danny shaking his head. He does not approve.
No, he doesn't. But John
he will
English,
not be watching, by the way, the Hall of Fame game tonight.
I don't think so.
I
Don't
promise you.
think so. Give John English a call at 931-492-4304. All right, let's get this football question out of the way before we get to Danny. We are 23 days away from week 0 of college football. What is the name of the trophy awarded to the winner of the Army-Navy game each year?
Kelly, is that not the Commander's Cup?
Yeah, the Commander's Cup, is it not?
Yeah.
What's the exact wording of it?
Oh, here we go.
Commander's something or other.
The Commanders. I thought it was the Commander's Cup.
Award.
The Commander's Trophy.
Commander-in-Chief.
Commander-in-Chief. Wow.
Oh, well, then we got that one. We got that one, Billy. Save it. Relax, Francis.
Yeah, we did get that one. We're taking credit for that. You know, they played the Army-Navy game in '63, the week after President Kennedy was assassinated. And I've seen some film footage and seen a documentary on it. They said it was really somber. I was too young to know what that really felt like, but Roger Staubach was Navy's quarterback.
The Dodger?
60 years ago.
60 years ago. That's crazy, man. It's hard to believe that it's been that long ago.
Yeah. Okay, so let's turn the clock to the 3 o'clock hour, and we're about to talk with a man who knows at least as much baseball as any human being in the world, if not more. We say hello to Danny Evans. Danny, how are you?
I'm doing well, George. And how you doing, Kelly? And I'm so glad you didn't ask for assistance on that question.
Oh, we know. We know.
So we have not talked, I don't think, and I know we weren't able to Monday because we were flying into trade deadline. Tell me about the All-Star game that you did on ESPN.
George, about 8 to 10 prospects in the game, about 20 scouts, a couple great plays, a monsoon in the 7th inning, stopped the game. But boy, oh boy, there's some really good players in the game, and really enjoyed it. The previous week had a lot of good pitchers. This time in the other division, it was laden with guys who were two-way players and some big arms. It was honestly a lot of fun. Had a good time.
When's the next TV deal?
Don't know. Trying to figure out a date on the calendar. Got a couple things thrown at me yesterday morning when I was still in beautiful Bismarck, and trying to figure it out. But I will have another event, George. You don't have to cancel your subscription yet.
No, I'm not. The first time I ever did a television game, I was 22 years old, and Western Kentucky hired me. And the stand-up open, I was a complete zombie. There was a lot of this. I was like a robot. The stand-up open, does that scare you at all?
I hope I don't look scared. No, I love doing it live because you don't have the bailout position. What I do try to do is I don't talk to my partner about what I'm going to talk about, and I think that allows for a real extemporaneous response. I'm really lucky working with Chris Fosters, who does the Blackhawks games, is a real treat. He's an elite young broadcaster, and gosh, is he a lot of fun. He's a really good broadcaster.
I love it. Well, I hope it continues because they have brought a guy on who knows that game. So I hope it continues.
Well, it's fun. The homework's unbelievable, George. I mean, that's like 140 guys for 2 All-Star games. But now, if you ask me something about somebody in Northwoods League, I can bail you out a little bit. Don't worry about it.
It's like doing a football game.
Yeah.
But I've always told young broadcasters, for radio purposes, you got to know wide receivers, running backs, quarterback. The offensive lineman, you can create kind of a cheat sheet with your spotters board, and that's essentially what it is. It's kind of a cheat sheet. And
you gave me great advice, George. You really helped me with my first game, so I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So tell me about your reaction to what did or didn't happen Monday, because it wasn't quite the explosion that everybody thought.
Yeah, because I think a lot of trades were made prior to the deadline, George. I think for about 10 to 12 days prior to the deadline, there were a lot of moves. I mean, the Angels made a bundle of moves. And I think teams didn't wait as long as they do usually, simply because it's such a tight race for those wild card shots. I think there's 3 or 4 divisions that are really up in the air. And I think teams valued time, giving themselves another 4, 5, 6 days of a player, getting a starting pitcher particularly. I thought Detroit struggled a little bit when they weren't able to move Rodriguez to the Dodgers. They didn't have a fallback position. I think the Mets, there was an extraordinary movement at the deadline for them. They moved over $90 million in salary with a couple Cy Young Award winners and made some good deals. I thought the White Sox made good deals, but for me, the AL West was amazing between the Astros and the Rangers playing some serious chess. And I thought, some teams made interesting moves playing both sides of the fence. But all in all, George, the fun for me, and you get this, was sitting in Bismarck, North Dakota for a Northwoods League All-Star game and monitoring the draft. I was probably the most obsessed guy in the building. But, for those kids, it was their big moment. And for me, I was trying to balance both sides, and just getting all the way through it was really a lot of fun.
So let's go back to the Mets for a minute, and I want to
Yeah.
get your thoughts. It seems to have come out, Max Scherzer, who's a terrific pitcher and I think a first ballot Hall of Famer down the road, seemed miffed when the Mets moved David Robertson to the Marlins, seemed surprised by it. And my first reaction was, how could he be surprised? What other choice did they have?
You know, George, it's a dynamic that you and I will never feel. A guy in his late 30s, towards the end of his career, he knows the train tracks are going to run out pretty soon, and he's there to win. And sometimes you get so obsessed with the well-being of your team and your own, I would say, focus, that sometimes that is a jarring move. Had that happen, a few veteran players calling me like right after a deal when I kind of thought everybody knew where he stood. You know, the Mets are out. There's no way they're in. But I think he was probably looking at next year and going, this guy makes us a better team. And then you move him within your division, which I thought was a brilliant move for both sides. But I think the subsequent conversation between the owner, the general manager, and Scherzer led to the two trades of Verlander and Scherzer. And I give the Mets credit for being honest with Scherzer and not taking the easy way out. And that was a couple of bold moves. They got some good players out of it.
Yeah, I hope for their sake they did. They gave up a lot. So let's go to Verlander.
Yeah.
Do you think Verlander wanted out all along, or got the word from Scherzer, hey, things are different, so you probably ought to get out of here?
I don't know. I have absolute huge respect for Justin. I know a lot of guys who played with him and just absolutely love him. And I know people who drafted him and have worked with him in the front office, field staff people, and he is universally respected. He's one of those guys, I know very casually. I've met him a couple times, but his reputation precedes him for me. And, his career turned around when he went to Houston about 6 years ago. The Astros made a great move. The Blue Jays and the Astros were the two teams vying for him, trying to get him from the Tigers, using analytics to try to change his repertoire and change his pitching patterns. And in his mid-30s, he probably had another 70 wins. And I think in Verlander's case, probably saw a chance to go back somewhere with some great memories. One thing about him, George, he's not what he used to be, but, at his age, he's not supposed to be that guy. But with his command, his feel, his experience, I thought it was a tremendous move by the franchise.
So let's talk Braves for a minute. Imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm surprised, but let's go.
Yeah, I know you're shocked. So do you think all along Alex Anthopoulos was like, we don't really need a starting pitcher all that bad? Or do you think the market just didn't fall the way he felt comfortable?
Well, I think there's another factor too, and you've mentioned some really good points. I think also the return of Max Fried is pretty evident now. I think he's throwing Friday.
Yeah.
And as a result, Max's return and the overall general health of their ace, I mean, he's clearly their best pitcher. I love Strider, but Max Fried is a special kid. I just think they probably said, wait a second, Strider's made some real good moves lately, and he looks more the part, which is something we've talked about a few times on this. And I think adding some of those complementary pieces weren't as attractive because they were back-end rotation guys. The elite starters, they might have been in on them, but George, the prices were so high. I think a guy like Dylan Cease probably would have been a guy he played on, but when he was taken off the market, I thought the Johnson, Hand, Lopez deals were all good trades, making the Braves a better team. And they're also, right now, they're the best regular season team in the game. I don't think anybody would argue with me on that. But I think what they did is they positioned themselves to be a better playoff team, both short and long term, by not giving up huge pieces for one of those potential upper end starting pitchers.
Okay, I'm going to hit kind of a weird one here because right now, when you look at the Braves, I guess you could make an argument their everyday 8 hitting wise is the best since the Big Red Machine. I mean, they are that dominant right now. But as a GM, do you worry at all about the fact that, to be honest, from June 15th on, they're not playing any meaningful games. They know exactly where they are unless they run into a hurricane. They're going to be the 1 seed and really never get tested.
It's tough to rely on offense in the postseason, George. You can get cold real quick. You know, you get a few days off because of the wild card, and then you're walking into a team that, because they'll be the number 1 seed, they'll play the softest of the wild cards, which means it's the hottest of the wild cards. It's the team that got in at the end. I always find offense to be the least dependent component of a playoff team. But there's another thing, and I think this is just my experience speaking. When a club is a sure thing in the postseason, what you start to do is start to evaluate their hitters. You use a lot of analytics, a lot of pitch charts, a lot of scouting to really examine that team closely. I know I did it in the postseason for the Blue Jays about 7 or 8 years ago, and they were a 95-win team coming in, and we swept them. And part of the reason was I followed them for 28 days, along with a scouting partner of mine who's truly one of the best guys I've ever worked with. And all we did was pick apart that club, and that's been done a lot. It was done to my White Sox team in 2000, in 1983, in 1993. Winning a division title and knowing you're going to be that first-round opponent of an advancing club makes that team focus on you that much earlier. And George, it's listen, you're a good team. You know, you're advancing deep into the postseason because of your regular season wins and losses. But the problem is your negatives are exposed and your positives can be reduced. I mean, you know where the hot zones are, and you just decide, hey, we're not going to let player A beat us. Player B is the guy we're going to go after, and this is how we're going to get him out. And it's part of the playoffs that most people don't recognize, but that elite entry into the postseason also means you're the most examined.
Okay, let me try this one, and you may say to yourself, George, you are putting yourself into paralysis by analysis. So this is a team that is, every time you turn around, they're hitting homers. They're hitting them in bunches. And recently I've been watching to be able to say to myself, are there balls getting out that don't feel like they're home run balls? And the answer for me is yes, there are balls flying. It feels like they're back at Atlanta Stadium, in the early 70s. Everything's flying out of there. You get to October, the weather gets normally considerably cooler. Balls that are flying out in June, July, and August suddenly aren't flying out. And this is a team that their whole thing is built around the long ball. Should I have any worry about that?
Again, George, when you dwell on offense in the postseason, you're going to get frustrated. I know how closely you follow the game. How many elite offensive teams have been dominant in the postseason? When you and I have to go back to the Red Machine, I mean, that's 2 generations ago. And it's a different era. I mean, there were far fewer clubs in the big leagues at that point. I think there were 24 big league teams. The Bash Brothers, you think about all the great offensive clubs that have won World Series, they also had elite starters. And I think here's one of the things that come into play, especially in the shorter series, the 5-game series and the wild card entry series. You're not seeing the 4th and 5th starter. You're not seeing that middle reliever. You're not seeing the long guy. and the pitchers aren't seeing bench players. So as a result, you're seeing 15 to 18 players on a 26-man roster. So the resulting effect is that offense is suppressed because you have elite stuff on the mound. Scouting is imperative. So as a result, you're pitching to guys differently and more, I would say, specifically than you do during the regular season. And also, George, and this is the human element, it's already tough to hit. It's even tougher to hit when the outs are magnified. There's more pressure. You're seeing relievers earlier in the game. And George, you're also seeing more pitchers. Whereas in the regular season tonight, you might see 3 pitchers in a game. Those outs would be distributed more frequently. And as a result, you need seeing 5 guys. You're seeing 4 different pitchers during a game. That is a really hard task for an offensive program.
I got one last thing, then we'll go to the break, and then you'll get a lot better questions with Kelly. I'm confused on the Yankees. When I look at them, they don't score any runs if Aaron Judge isn't in that lineup, so they need to go get a bat. Danny, I've always believed, and you may tell me otherwise, that at the deadline, bats are easier to get than pitchers. So, first of all, is that true?
It is true, George, but the price usually isn't very clear because there are very few bats that are focal points. Most of the teams that are in, there were 22 teams vying for players and 8 teams that were out. And the 8 teams that were out really didn't have any offensive players to speak of, except for, I would say, Canna. There was just not much out there. Candelario was another guy. For the most part, George, no, those guys, they just don't have offensive players. Part of the reason they're terrible is they don't score enough runs. But here's the problem with the Yankees. I think they're 3.5 games out right now. They're going to win 85 games. That's not going to be enough to likely win the wild card. I think the wild card, you have to be in about an 87, 86 win team. They got 4 clubs to jump over. They don't have an unbalanced schedule anymore, so it's doable. But I got the feeling that they thought they were on the fence and they weren't willing to do anything damaging to their club long term. I think they and the Red Sox, for me, were a couple clubs that I was a little confused by, but also teams that are really moored in quicksand right now and didn't know where to go. I don't fault them. They know their teams better than we do, but I think they also realize that their division probably isn't the way they're going to get in. They're going to have to win the wild card. Where they are today isn't bad, but those clubs in front of them, if you think about it, currently Tampa Bay, Houston, Toronto, Boston, those are all good clubs. And you can't expect any of those teams to fall apart. So they have a very, very tough task ahead of them.
Okay, great start on the discussion of what went on Monday. Kelly is in the on-deck circle. Danny Evans, the very best there is at talking baseball. We'll get more of his thoughts when we come back. Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Convenience and value, 2 words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, We strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700. Send us a message at celestemiddleton.com or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports. And then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general. Baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised. And, of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Well, this is a segment I love where we talk baseball with Danny Evans. Kelly, you're learning, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm learning, but I feel, I feel like Danny felt when he saw the question that Billy posed to us about the football. I kind of feel that way when I was sitting here listening to y'all, and y'all know so much about baseball, and I'm very novice about it. But I feel really inadequate when I go on the air with my man Danny here, because he's been at the highest level of managing clubs and doing all that and being the general manager, and then I'm a football guy, so I'll do my best.
But I think that's what's been fun about it, is that you have come at this from some really unique places that I wouldn't have thought of. So I enjoy hearing where you're going to go.
Well, I've got another one at the end of this. I don't know how it'll go over, but hey, let's just start off with this. With all the trade stuff that's going on, listening to you and George, who do you think won with all the trades that happened throughout this past week or throughout this past month?
I'd say Florida did great. I think Florida really bolstered their ball club. I think Texas and Houston did a good job. That never sounds right to me when you say Houston and Texas, or Texas and Houston. I think the Dodgers did well. They made some good moves for some complimentary guys. I also thought some teams did a good job moving guys. I thought the Mets did a good job. I thought St. Louis did a good job moving some players. But Kelly, you know what? If you count on the deadline to be the reason you get in, you're in trouble, because we only have a third of the season left to go. And I think part of the problem sometimes is that fans and the media and sometimes the clubs put so much on the deadline to jolt their club. If you're not good enough to get in on August 1st, you're probably not good enough to get in. And to ask a player or players to make you that much better, Kelly, it's just, how hard it is. You've done it. to come into a clubhouse for the first time and fit right in and be loose and be ready, that takes a little while. And in our sport, when you're playing every night, that just compounds. So, I think the good teams stayed good. I don't think anybody got worse, but I think some teams made marginal improvements that'll enhance their chances in October and November.
So let me ask you this. This makes me think. So do you think it would be easier for somebody to come in? Because I know we watched Max Scherzer on the TV today, and he was kind of struggling in the first inning, had like over 30-something pitches in the first inning. So is it easier in baseball? I know when you come in football, man, that takes a while because you got to learn the terminology and things like that. But you go to a major league team and you go to a major league club and Scherzer gets thrust out there. I mean, I know he's got nerves, but is that easier or hard for a major leaguer other than other sports?
Much tougher for a pitcher, Kelly. Just their game preparation, their throw days, their repertoire, their preparation, their pregame stuff, just going over how they, I would say, prepare for that club that day in terms of the advance report. And then just the whole relationship with the pitching coach, the manager, the catcher who hasn't caught him for a while, if at all. Suddenly the sequences and, Kelly, just think about this. Think about the center quarterback exchange and how that is all about repetition, feel, trust. And it's one of the real quiet nuances in football that people don't address very much. It's a given, but it's sure not a given for a quarterback and a center. And I think this is one of those unique situations where, I remember Paul LaDuca saying to me when we acquired a guy one day, he said, Dan, I've never faced him. He said, what does he throw? And, this is the night before a guy's pitching. And I said, here, I'll get you some video. I'll get you some sequences. And he came in the next day and he said, boy, am I glad I asked for that. But Kelly, I mean, it's rough to come into the season. It's the reason why most catchers don't get moved at the deadline, because you can't expect them to learn 13 or 14 pitchers.
Wow, that's a good answer, man. That's what I wanted. So let me ask you this. I know that things get put into a lot of contracts, but I was reading this and you already talked about it. So what's up with the deal with the guy from Detroit not going to LA? Do you actually get to put no trade clauses into contracts in baseball? Like, I didn't think you had anything to do with that. Like, if I got, because I got traded one time, so this Rodriguez guy he's got a no trade clause. How does that happen?
If you're left-handed and you throw in the mid-90s, it's amazing what you can get in negotiations, Kelly. He signed a free agent contract, and one of the things that he received was a 10-team no trade, and the Dodgers were on that club. He's got 3 kids. He's from Miami. His family lives in Miami, and he did not want to play out on the West Coast. He has 3 more years remaining on his contract. Wow. And, the money's good, but Kelly, he can also opt out at the end of this year and be a free agent. So, I understand the family component, and he's earned that right. As a free agent, he got a chance to negotiate that. The Dodgers and the Tigers seem to have a deal done because they were given permission to talk to him by the commissioner's office, trying to get him to waive the no trade. What that does is that puts the player in limbo, but it also puts the club in limbo at the same time, because they can't acquire anybody else knowing that this deal is potentially imminent. I never fault a player when he exercises that right, because he earned that right. The problem I've got is the Tigers should have had a fallback position with one of the teams that isn't on his 10-team trade situation. And the fact that they didn't, now he's still with their club. He can exercise an opt-out at the end of this year, and they'll get absolutely nothing for him at the end of the season as compensation.
Well, that's business dealings there. So we've all talked about Shohei Ohtani, and everybody thought he was going to get traded. So then they were pretty aggressive, it looked like, in the trade deal. So is this kind of showing him Is this trying to get him to stay there? Is that what they're trying to do? Because I think that they've had a big drought in being in the postseason. So I think they want to keep him, obviously. So I think the management, am I correct, is showing, hey, we're in this thing. We're going to try to put some people around you to try to help with this. Is that, and am I seeing that correct?
Nailed it, Kelly. That's exactly what's going on. The Angels haven't been in the postseason for an extended period. Trout will return in a while. When, Trout has only had 3 games of postseason experience because of the lack of postseason play for the Angel franchise. So what they're trying to do is give Ohtani all the reasons to believe in the franchise. And I think it was a bold move and a good move. The problem is, I'm looking here, they're 4 games out of the wild card, and they're way out of the division situation. So they're going after a wild card position. I thought they made good moves, not great moves, but good moves to make their team better. When Trout returns, they get arguably the best player of his generation back. Ohtani is pitching tonight. I think what you've seen is Ohtani has been extraordinary in the last month or so. American League Player of the Month. He just had an unbelievable offensive month. And now you get a two-way guy with about, 55 games to go, maybe 9 or 10 starts. That's going to be a pretty impressive team to play over these last 2 months of the season. But Kelly, I applaud them because he's such a good player. I wouldn't want to move him. I'd rather try to win with him.
Gotcha. Okay, so this is going to be my last question, and I know George is going to want to get in this, but this is one of my far out of left field questions. Okay, I've been wanting to ask this for 2 months. Okay, so let me set this up, and it's going to take a little time. So where I live, I used to have a golf tournament, and there was an older man that lives in my town. I'm not going to give it away, but you would know his name. He's very prominent. He's done a lot of things. Played a long time ago. But I would always ask him to come to the golf tournament, and he was like, I didn't make the kind of money that you guys made, so I just can't do it. I've got to go out and speak and do all this. And he was like, if I got to play nowadays, I would make a lot of money. Okay. And I thought in the back of my head, if you got to play nowadays, you probably wouldn't make a team. Okay. That's just what I would think in my head. Okay. So my question to you is, and this is probably going to piss y'all off, but the way the game has changed in baseball now with everything that's going on with pitchers, with all the velo and all this stuff, I'm wondering how the guys of old, the Joe DiMaggios, all those guys, I know that they would figure it out because the game was much different, but because that guy that I've talked to could not play in today's NFL. He couldn't. So my whole thing is, could those guys, the Babe Ruths, the Joe DiMaggios, now I know you're going to say, yeah, but like, what's different now in today's game that will make it difficult for those guys back in the day now?
Absolutely great question, Kelly. I'm going to take a different route. You're probably not expecting. Okay. I think the globalization of the game and the integration of the game, there were no Dominicans facing Babe Ruth. Joe DiMaggio didn't hit ground balls to guys from the Dominican Republic. Shohei Ohtani didn't play against Mickey Mantle. We had Jackie Robinson show up in 1947. Until that point, it was an all-white game. I think what we have now is the greatest convergence of athletes to play Major League Baseball in the history of the game. And I think subsequently we're seeing people that we wouldn't have seen 30, 50, 75 years ago, who are guys that we stop everything to watch play. I think of Acuna. I think of De La Cruz. I think of, very candidly, Ohtani, who for me is must-watch television. And I think the subsequent consideration I say is that the great ones will always be good players. I think today's player and today's game is at an all-time high. I think we scout better, we analyze better, we draft better, we have a way better understanding of players and how to get them out, how to acquire them, how to make them better. I mean, today's athlete is far superior to the athletes of the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. And that's no slap against them. It's the evolution of our society and the game. But I just think of Babe Ruth facing guys who are making 45 starts with tired arms. And, suddenly pick anybody you want in today's game, and they're seeing a far more difficult situation than players 40 and 50 years ago. And as a result, I tip my hat to today's players, because if you're great today, Kelly, you are one of the all-time greats.
Danny, wouldn't part of the answer be that from the 6th inning on, it's much more difficult? I mean, I see Aroldis Chapman come into the 7th inning. Ted Williams never faced an Aroldis Chapman. Nothing against Ted Williams, who was a great hitter. But this guy, Luis Ariz, at 380 today, how do we extrapolate what that would have meant in 1941?
George, it's a super point. And Joe D obviously is royalty. I mean, you hit 56 straight games. Keltner robs you, and you turn around, you get about 18 more games in a row. Williams wins the Triple Crown, doesn't win the MVP. I mean, there are some, Gehrig had 175 RBI, and everybody talked about Ruth that year. But those guys didn't have the talent pool that we're watching today. I mean, I think of your favorite team, George. There were no Ronald Acuñas in the big leagues from 1965 and before. They didn't exist. Minnie Minoso came in and snapped that along with Robinson, Larry Doby. The game is totally different in the last 70 years. So I just think, and George, just what a savant I am at the game. But one of the problems I have is comparing eras before integration and before, I would say, the flow of international players into the game. To take nothing away from Joe D, but Joe D's facing one or two guys, and that's all he's seeing. And now, typically a guy sees 4 and 5 guys a night from all over the world. We have 23 countries represented in the big leagues this year. I just think the game is at an all-time high. Part of it is the integration. Part of it for me is the elevation of the international game, but also the athleticism, the training. I think it's at the all-time best it's ever been. This game's never been harder to play. So the great ones are truly great.
Danny, let me, I may have asked you this Monday, and if I did, stop me. This will show, the beginning of something.
That's right, George. We won't remember. No problem.
Thank you. So from about the 10-day mark of the regular season on, the MVP award has been Ronald Acuña's. Yep. And rightfully so. He's been unbelievable. Is it possible Matt Olson has caught him?
Now, Matt Olson, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to throw a name out there. I think De La Cruz has been so impactful to the Reds. And I know that's quirky, but for me, who has impacted their club more this year? Matt Olson, George, I remember when they made the deal. And, Freddie, I know. And Freddie leaves and goes to the Dodgers, and he's just continued his Hall of Fame career, and he's an extraordinary player. But the Braves didn't miss a beat. They were ready for that move. In fact, I think that move preceded the Freeman signing. And what they did,
you're right.
Right. So they got a younger player who's shown more power, who has been awesome the last couple of months, actually the last couple of years. And what they have now is just the fact that he's in the conversation tells you how great a move that was. But, I was thinking about this the other day. For me, Acuña is the guy for me. He has just had an extraordinary, historic season. It still has 2 months to go. But I look at De La Cruz and his impact on his ball club, and I ask, who has been more impactful, and especially if Cincinnati should get into the postseason with a divisional title? For me, De La Cruz is a player in that race.
Well, you know what? It's really interesting you're saying that. I don't know. The people that vote does the word impactful enter into it for them? Because, I mean, you're making a great point. From the minute this young stud has gotten there, it's like it's a totally different deal in Cincinnati.
George, there's a great guy in Bismarck the other day. He was a really big baseball hound, and he told me that the Reds were 33-16 since De La Cruz came up. Now, when you're playing 667 baseball and you're the impact guy, you know what? That's the definition of an MVP for me. I just think, if he's not in the conversation, he should be. But I think you bring up a great point. Olsen, I think one of the problems is Olsen and Acuna might neuter each other's chances. And I don't know who I would pick. I think I'd pick Acuna over Olsen, but it wouldn't be an easy call for me.
This is great stuff. Kelly had a great question, by the way.
He sure did.
No question at all. I thought it was a really good question. And believe me,
Kelly,
question, I would look him in the eye and just say, that is one dumb question.
I love it. We got to keep him in his place, George, right? We can't get him too cocky. Right?
Let him know who daddy is.
He even dropped a velo on us today, George.
Yeah.
We didn't go velo in April, but we got velo here on August 3rd. That was very impressive.
Send him a baseball book. It might help.
I love it.
Thank you as always.
Thanks a bunch, guys. And I'm glad the audio and the video was better today than they were the other day. Thanks a bunch.
Perfect.
Thanks, Danny.
See you guys.
We'll go to the break on that. Our thanks to Danny Evans for great trade deadline stuff, as always. Plaster bet of the day, which last night was a disaster.
You didn't. Yeah, you made nobody any money.
No, other than maybe the Cubs fans. Stay tuned. Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today. You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Single game tickets are on sale now.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonleyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at BairdDifference.com.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Football is back tonight with the Hall of Fame game, Jets and Browns. Who's the favorite in that one tonight, George?
Jets.
Slight favorite?
By 2.
We'll see if George touches that one tonight. Even with a football game, he might still be going baseball. But let's see where he goes, and it's brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Give him a call, 615-242-9000, or log on to their website. That's bartdurham.com. All right, Kelly, let's check out what happened last night. Cincinnati loss. Big fat L.
Dumpster
fire. Go Reds.
That was embarrassing.
Nice
showing, Cincinnati.
Nice way to be a team player, Kelly.
I mean, hey, you're the one picked it, not me.
Yeah. Okay, so 8-4 will win you a lot of money.
It will.
That's a fact, Jack.
It may get you paid. It may get you paid in the new SEC next year, not this year, but next year if you go 8-4.
No, absolutely. You'll get a bowl game.
You'll get a bowl game. You're going.
So guess where we're going tonight? 2 different games.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
The Brownies.
Okay, the lines jumped to 2. Not that it matters. So you're sitting there saying, okay, why would you ever touch this? If you're smart, you don't. But you've been having withdrawals now for months, and you're sitting there going, football. Here we go.
Well, here we go.
Okay. So we know Aaron Rodgers is not playing. We're pretty certain Deshaun Watson isn't playing. And so now you try to evaluate second and third teams. The bottom line is the Jets are the one getting all the pub. The Browns are quietly, I think, going to be pretty damn good this year. Deshaun Watson, whether you like him or not, is a year removed from all the stuff that was going on in Houston. And when he was at his best, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Now, it's not going to matter tonight. He's not going to play. There'll be a bunch of bartenders that are out there. There'll be some waiters that are out there, some mechanics.
Oh, wow.
By August 20th, there may be some travel agents. Some of the people out there, if you see anybody with a 3-digit number on their back, they are not likely to make it. Tackled by 104, Holcomb.
Some of the guys in this game might be podcasters as well.
Might be competing against us.
And hey, you know what, George? I really hate to say this, but I'm for you tonight, man. Go Brownies.
Oh, that's right.
It really doesn't matter. Like this is like a who cares game right here. Like nobody cares.
Who cares?
But
I'm with you.
Do you not think a bunch of people won't watch the first 30 minutes of it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think Deshaun Watson may play a series. I don't think Aaron Rodgers will, but I think Deshaun Watson may. So we'll see.
For what it's worth.
Yeah, for what it's worth.
Okay, both of you. What kind of audience does this draw tonight?
I think it draws a decent audience, but it's going
to be okay.
But no one's watching it after the starting quarterbacks head out, and you're watching guys that'll be in the XFL next year.
Wow.
Or that'll be bartending, as you say, George.
So
way to ruin dreams.
So we're going with Cleveland. Now, if you really want to have some fun, you'll take the Browns plus 7.5, tease them up, tease the over down to 27.5. That's just a thought. The Dodgers have laid waste to the A's, but the line, the straight up line is way too heavy. Take the Dodgers minus a run and a half. Take your chances at minus 135. Oakland sucks. You know that. We all know that. The Dodgers are not as good as their name, but they are plenty good enough to basically run over the A's and turn them into roadkill.
George, that's like unfair. Like that's terrible. Like I could go play for the A's. And I could.
Will they be in Oakland next year?
I'll say this. No. I don't know when the lease runs out. I don't know if it's next year they end up in Vegas. Kelly, here's one thing for you. Your presence on the A's will not do a damn thing for attendance.
No, absolutely not. I'm not saying that, but I promise you I could go out there and field some grounders and throw them out. Now, I couldn't hit for nobody. I'd have to bunt. I'd be the designated bunter, which nobody can do in the game anymore, so I'd be that guy.
Why did we just get music that was unscheduled?
Unscheduled.
Whatever it is, it's Billy's fault.
Absolutely.
It was an administrative decision.
Yeah. Well, you're not making those decisions. Can you now put up the high school graphic?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's wonderful. So we announced yesterday on the air that beginning on Friday, August the 18th, for 15 Fridays in a row, our show will originate from a high school campus. The first hour, the 2 to 3 o'clock hour, will be exclusively high school football. Then we'll do our normal show. We'll expand it till about 4:30 in the afternoon, and you'll be ready for a big football weekend. The first one of these will be at James Lawson High School. James Lawson is the new Hillwood. Hillwood moving out, and now James Lawson, just down the road, less than a mile from us, opens a beautiful new $200 million facility, and we will broadcast in front of some student body in their beautiful new auditorium on Friday, August the 18th. Our thanks to Josh Houston and Associates, to Southern Trophy, and to the Metropolitan Police Department. Those are 3 sponsors that have signed on. There are more coming. That's our show. Kelly, have a great weekend.
George, appreciate it. Don't screw up this high school thing, though.
Why do you get Friday off? I work harder than you do. Why the hell don't I get Friday off?
Well, probably because it's the George Plaster show.
It's a good point. Billy, you also will not get Friday off.
No.
Tomorrow on the show, Coach Herm Edwards.
Never dull.
Play to win the game.
Why can't you have him on while I'm on? I mean, what are we doing here, George?
He has made clear he doesn't want to deal with you. Thus, we put him on Fridays.
Okay, all
and
right.
Kelly, a new feature on Fridays, Ask the Director.
Oh, gosh. I guess you're the director? The
Yeah.
self-proclaimed director?
Let's see. What's he saying here?
I mean, that doesn't even sound right.
Hold on. I'm looking. He says, I don't want to deal with Kelly.
That's really bad because you've got glasses and you still can't see it. That's called getting old, Hoss.
Thank you. Same to you, pal. You should wish to look as good as I am when you reach my age.
I just had some young kid tell me the other day I had a hat on. He said, "Man, you look like you're 30. Are you 30?" I was like,
he didn't
"Dada, babe."
He didn't mean it. Goodbye.
Yes, he did. Yes, he
Have
did.
a good weekend. Rest well.
See y'all.
We'll see all of you tomorrow. It'll be a good show. And don't worry about the fact Kelly's not there. We will entertain you. See ya.